Hi, everybody. I'm Gordon. Welcome to my presentation on communication networks. What is a communication network? Well, a communication network is a pattern of interaction within a group. Who talks to who? And one thing that tends to happen is, just for starters, right? There's really three patterns. And this first one happens just generally speaking across the board. But that is, say I have a friend, Bob, right? And Bob and I both work for Microsoft, and there's a large group, there's a large number of people. Generally speaking, I just talk to Bob because he's who I'm comfortable with. And that's just how that goes. That seems to be a pretty consistent pattern. That being said, there's two other patterns that I think are very important that I want to talk about. But I have a question first for everybody, and I just want you guys to think about it for a second. And that is everyone's opinion equal, or do people generally talk to the boss? Think corporate America. Well, depends what type of setup or situation you're in. There's different patterns for different situations. You have an equal communication pattern here, and that is, just simply put, all that means is that you have communication across the board. So there's really not clear distinction between a supervisor, a subordinate, and anyone in that line. It's just all around the board. Everyone's equal, really, is what that comes down to. So, in a good example of this would be Google, Facebook, a real liberal tech company where everybody's involved, everybody has an opinion, and people value those opinions, and there's a lot of back and forth communication. Great setup, but that's not the standard. This is the standard. Not being on the New England Patriots. That's not the standard. The standard is communication being addressed to a leader. And a good example of that is the offense of the New England Patriots. So who's the leader? Tom Brady, number 12. So what's happening? Who's communicating with who? Think about that for a second. It's not hard. Okay. They're all communicating with Tom Brady. His offense is all communicating with him because he's the leader. He's the quarterback. And so communication goes up. They're asking him, Tom, what do we do in this situation? And Tom's telling him, well, this is what we do. So that all that communication is going up the chain, and it's being addressed to a leader. And that's your standard format for a typical American company or a typical American communication network in that sense, is that it goes up. If you're working for Safeway, you don't have an equal say. You're talking to your supervisor. They're telling you what to do. If you're working for that's a standard setup for most companies. So that's one to keep in mind. That's a standard setup. So how does group size affect communication? Well, simply put, as group size increases, the opportunity to interact with others decreases. And with that decrease in opportunity comes decreased communication. What effect would this have on the communication network? Again, just decreased communication. Decreased communication, which would lead to just not a very well-functioning group, which leads us to the next principle. The principle of diminishing returns. Not only does communication decrease when group size increases, but people's participation decreases as well. And that's a diminishing return. And I have an example of this that I just thought up. I thought about a lemonade company, and I put that mine was Rick's Lemonades. And Rick starts out with 10 employees. And at first, these 10 employees function very well. They do what they're supposed to do, they produce a good product, and they communicate with each other. They have good communication that's open. And then Rick, like a not very smart business person, adds 30 more people to his team, and now it's 40 employees. And those people don't communicate that well with each other because there's just too many people to communicate with. And they don't work as hard because there's a lot of people to do their jobs. So it's just the more people he gets, the less of a return he's getting on his investment. So that's a diminishing return. Not smart. Not smart at all. If I was Rick, I would have stuck with 10 people. That being said, the next question is, what is an ideal group size? You don't want too many, but you don't want too few. So, I don't know, take a basketball team, for example. You're going to have guys who are good point guards, who are good three-point shooters, who are good at offense, who are good at stealing the ball. And a group size that's large enough to encompass all these skill sets, but still stay small enough for people to have good, solid communication. You've got LeBron here, you've got Kobe here, and and if it's small enough where these guys can talk to each other, that's good. You want there to be, a diverse enough group to encompass a great skill set, but you also want it to be small enough where communication functions ideally. That's a good group size. So, and another example of that would be a small classroom. Just take UH, for example, a small classroom at UH with 10 people, because you're going to be able to have more discussion. You're going to be able to see people's opinions and hear people's opinions a lot more than, say, if you had a lecture hall with 120 people. You're not going to know what the guy who sits 5 rows from you, you're not going to have any idea what that guy thinks about whatever. You're just not going to know what his opinion on anything is. So that's not an ideal group size. An ideal group size would be, it just depends. 10 to 20 people, that's just in my opinion, but small enough where you can really hear from everybody. So, and last but not least, group climate. Group climate is a positive group climate. It's important. You really want free and open communication. Well, and we talked about that. So that has a lot to do with just having a small group, which fosters trust. I think when you know people better, you trust people. You have smaller groups, again, produce more, so they're more committed. And that just makes them more productive, more cohesive, more willing to do the work, more willing to work with others, more willing to communicate. And it's just better. It's a better group climate all the way across the board. This is ideal. This is what you want. Small, productive, tight-knit. That's what you're shooting for. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks for letting me share, guys.